Well, Mark, let's talk about MK Dons on Saturday. I think you said recently one of the best teams in the division. What kind of challenge are you expecting from them on Saturday?
Yeah, I think MK are synonymous with a style, so I do think that whoever's in charge, they look similar. There's differences, obviously, with every manager. But if you could pair a manager with a team, it's probably the perfect pairing. Scott's gone in and the run of form since he's been there has been excellent. I think they are the form team. I think anyone who finishes above them will get promoted, because I do think they'll be right at the top of it, and I think they'll strengthen again in January and only get better and stronger as they go. So certainly one of the favourites and one of the strongest teams, I think. One, because of the identity that they've got, and that's really paired nicely with the manager, and he hasn't really got all of maybe the squad that he'll want yet. So there's a good fight there for people trying to be part of it. But they're in good form, scoring lots of goals. I was at the game, whatever midweek it was, when they played Chesterfield, which, to be fair, was a really interesting game to go to for about 25 minutes until they were 2-0 up and Chesterfield had one sent off, and then it became a game that was like a little bit unrealistic to watch and learn too much from. But yeah, possession-based team, got direct threats, got good runners in the team. Nemane, the right wing back, really creative one, boy from Notts County last season. Alex Gilby's on flames at the moment in terms of forward runs and scoring goals. Scott Hogan's excellent centre forward with real pedigree that's done great for them. They've got a number of options, Kelly and Maguire, who got promoted with Scott at Crawley last year, that can understand his way quite quickly. So I think there's lots to admire about their team, lots to be mindful of in our game against them, but also areas where we feel like if we're brilliant we can cause them problems too. So it'll be an interesting challenge. The game will look very different, I'm sure, to the one that was here last weekend. That's just the nature of it. But we've got one or two games we've played this year that we can draw on for similar experiences, I think.
At this level, is away at MK Dons pretty much as tough as it gets?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think there's different levels or different types of tough, really. Certain games or styles test you in different ways. Certain atmospheres test you in different ways. I think when you go there, you're always excited by, it's a huge pitch and a really nice playing surface. It's a beautiful stadium. So that side of it, like, it's quite motivational to turn up to. It's not necessarily the most intimidating in terms of atmospheres, but whereas others give you that challenge that this one doesn't give you, but you play against a team that can hurt you in so many different ways and have real threats in their game. That's what makes it a tough challenge, plus the form that they're on, I think, at the moment, and the expectation that there is there. So yeah, it's certainly a tough one, but we're a little bit buoyed by last weekend's result, and hopefully that's something that we can build on.
Just finally from me, housekeeping wise, Joe Gabodi, would he have to sit out Saturday? Otherwise, would it be pretty much the same squad?
Yeah, there's no one to return. Jake Turner potentially. We'll see. He's still in a mask training this morning, so I need to know what the latest on that is. Joe Bode has to do a 12-day return to play protocols, basically, because he's had a previous concussion. So it's a little bit longer. There's loads of stages as to when he can be back in training. I think by the time we play next Friday he'll be available and he'd have been in full training, but that won't happen this week. So yeah, he'll be missing. But everybody else came through the game without injuries, just some have gone big minutes for the first time. And so there's a few carrying one or two little bits, but hopefully we'll be able to call on most of those again.
Lovely. Well, thank you. All yours, Matt.
Just thinking about last weekend for a minute, was talking to Max Clark about it. Was the win as much about players' attitude as it was a change of formation, a change of tactics even?
Yeah, just a change of mindset, I do think. Yeah, sometimes formations can be a bit overrated. Not always, because sometimes they're really pivotal to it, and sometimes a change is just a good thing. We obviously changed from the system we were playing at the start, which had a few variations, to playing a version of a back 3 or 5 for a few games. That had some upturn in some of our performances and some of our control of games, but didn't necessarily always deliver us great results. But we had a couple of good results in there. And then we changed back to something, I don't even know if we've started with a 4-4-2 this season, other than maybe not started, maybe one more game. So yeah, different change in that sense. But I think I said it after the game. We could have played any version of the team. Really, we could have picked anybody. Nobody can really moan being out of it. Some can think themselves lucky for being in it. The ones that missed out completely, it's unfortunate for. It could have been anyone really that fell on. But what all of it did was just spark a bit of a reaction and a real focus in the team for what it had to look like as an absolute minimum, and it did. So that was important, and that gave us the chance to win. And the start point to any win is your attitude, because that's what drives your performance. So that was good. That was important, and it needs to be something that becomes us rather than a one-off thing. Really.
You talked a bit about a blueprint when you arrived, didn't you? Of what a never mind what a Mark Bonner team looks like, what a Gillingham team looks like. That more it.
Definitely more it in terms of effort and commitment and stubbornness and work ethic, definitely. We didn't carry huge threats with the ball. We weren't massively dominant. We weren't hugely creative with the ball. So maybe half of it. But certainly, I think as a given, we should always be that. And of course, it's not always possible. And like you have bad days and bits and pieces, but. Days where you make mistakes, but I think it's just the mistakes have to be the right ones. I think people forgive mistakes that are just quality or decision making, but it's really unforgivable when it's lack of commitment or effort, and it's been very rare that we could say that. So yeah, really important that we got back to very, very basics last week and did what we did, and the result fell the right way for us, which was important. It was a game that was always going to be probably low scoring, and it was going to fall one way or the other. Went our way, so we were pleased with that. Gives us 2 wins in the last 4 league games, and something that we've got to try to build on into a really, really busy period.
I think looking at the style of football that Milton Keynes Dons play, passing football predominantly on the floor, people might expect, you have to adapt to that, but how much of Saturday's game will be about you imposing yourselves on them rather than the other way around? Yeah,
a little bit, but I think you watch every game, they outpass everyone and they have more of the ball than everyone, so you could try and go toe to toe for them. We haven't got a pressing team. We haven't got a team that can go fully athletic and get after teams, because we'll be too open from back to front, side to side. And we need the game to be a bit tighter than that, so we can defend in the small areas where we can defend and get aggression to the ball. So we have to play that way a little bit more. We want to try, and there are certain moments in the game where you can be aggressive, get to the ball and get pressure, definitely, and we have to find them. And then there are loads of moments in the game where we'll have to get control and try to nudge their statistics down by having control ourselves. It's a huge pitch, but it's a huge pitch for them too when we've got the ball. So how good we are with it and how well we retain possession, sustain attacks, and have them running is really important, because if we try to do it the other way around and constantly just be happy without the ball and giving it back all the time, too long an afternoon, too long a task to try and face that out. So we've got to go and have a right go at being good with the ball. We've got to find the good moments to go and press and be really aggressive. And in the moments when we haven't got control of the game or they've got us deep in the pitch, we have to defend brilliantly. So it's probably a combination of everything. It will be a thinking game, a talking game, a running game, and we'll have to do that really well.
Will that affect who you pick in terms of personnel as well as what you do with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think it always does. It's a good shout in football when managers get sung at. You don't know what you're doing, and the truth usually is that people don't know what we are doing, or why we're doing it. So usually there is always an immense amount of thought going into why play this way, why pick this player, or who is and isn't available or whatever. So that there's lots of often information that people don't know when teams get picked and styles get chosen and so on. And the plan's only good if it pays off and it works. So that's usually the reality of it. But yeah, it would definitely have a say into who do we pick, what system we play, how does it why and how will it look different to Saturday, because it will and it will have to, and try and find a formula that gives us a chance of going there and getting points.
You weren't much for celebrating on Saturday, I think it's fair to say. Obviously the win was important, but not much more than that. It felt like that from the press conference. If you beat Milton Keynes Dons, will you be in a different mood?
I don't know. I'll be really pleased if we can back up the result with another one. we've got to try and put points together. We've got to try and find ways of getting results or taking games and control of them when we're on top, and staying in them when it's difficult, and finding a way of grinding out results when we're having a tough time or a bad day. So that's going to be really important. It'll be an excellent result to go there and get one. We're capable of doing it, but we're playing against the best side, so we're going to have to be brilliant in order to do it. We will be delighted with it, but how it'll feel afterwards, I don't really know. All I do know is, we had to perform properly last week and win, and I'm not massively one for overreacting wins or losses either way. I think that's probably been fairly obvious from the way I've been since I've been here. There's one game that I felt was a big win for us. It was Port Vale at home, because it was like, there's your potential turning point, but it didn't turn out to be that, so now last week needs to be. But when you play like you play and finish the game like we did at Bromley and lose the game in the way that we did, and the whole mood and mindset was like it is, you can't celebrate that win. You've just done your job, you've worked hard, you've got a result, get off the pitch, get back to work next week, do it again. And the mentality that we played with, that we needed to be at a real high level, that we needed unbelievable focus, that we needed to give a proper performance, that can't disappear just because we had a good result. And so that's what we're working on this week, trying to maintain that.
Ifs and buts, but should you beat them, you'll be within a point of MK Dons at that point.
Yeah, at the table, I think between now and what I would say is the end of the Christmas New Year period, which will be Fleetwood on like the 9th or 11th of Jan or whatever it is, that's kind of the end of that Christmas and New Year period. And I think we'll be 25 games gone at that point. I think the table will be really interesting at that point, and there can be a lot change in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks because of the number of games that are being played. So we've got to accumulate as many points as we can. We've got to be really relentless going after points in that block of games now, and see what position we can be in come then. And it will go up and down, and it will be to and fro between now and then, and there'll be some teams that really consolidate some good runs and some that have bad ones, and the table will change. And we're a handful of points away from really contesting in the playoff teams and pushing the top 3, and a handful of points from being 16th, 17th in the league. That's where it is at. And now this next batch of games is really important that we try and put some together, and see what position we can get into come January, and once we turn into the new year.
And just a quick check on the team news, on specifics I suppose. Tim Dieng, Ollie Hawkins weren't involved last weekend, were they?
No, Hawks is running today on the grass. He's still a little bit of time, he hasn't trained for a while now, so he'll need training. So I'm not sure on a date with him. Timmy should join training next week, Armani hopefully the week after. So we hope to have Timmy available going into the busy Christmas sort of period, and hopefully Armani in amongst it somewhere. And Hawks, I don't know yet, we'll see, maybe in that period of time, but I'm not sure where he's at the minute.
And Aaron Rowe and Bradley Dack kicked on this week?
Yeah, both trained, so both available. Obviously Az didn't get on the pitch last week, Dacky did for a few minutes, handful of minutes, but both available this weekend.
Lovely. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just following up on that, Wakeling and Wyland both available as well?
Both available, yeah. Ewan, Williams, Lapo, again, both of those missed out last weekend, all available. So, got quite a few to pick from, really.
Yeah, that's good. And do you see maybe Saturday it's an opportunity? I mean, to get a result there, that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? Make a statement.
Yeah, it would be. The statement stuff's for everybody else. Like for us, it's just get points and get results, and it matters what we think about ourselves, not really what anyone thinks about us. Because the reality is, if you lose and everyone thinks you toilet, and if you're winning everyone thinks you're amazing. So neither of those things are true, so we just have to be really mindful of what does good look like for us, and evaluate our own performances properly, honestly, critically, and find the best level as often as possible. So there is an element of, if you get results like that, they make big statements to everybody else. I think it would just be a bit of a statement to us that we are capable, and that we've turned a little corner backing up last week's really important result. But for us, it's just about going there and trying to deliver the best performance we can, and take on a team in really good form who didn't play last week because it was called off when they went up to Barrow. But we've got to go and find the level again, and find the intensity again in our heads, because the brain runs the body, and we've got some good bodies that are ready to go. But if the brain's not engaged with the challenge, then we won't be good enough.
They've won 6 in a row, haven't they? I mean, from a manager's perspective, how difficult is it to get 6 wins in a row in the league?
I don't think we've ever done it, so I don't know. yeah, it's really hard maintaining success and getting results, and the margin between a win and a draw or a loss and a draw can be so fine. But yeah, any runs of consistency like that, huge. And like anything, winning runs, losing runs, the longer they go on, they feel like they're impossible to end or to break. The reality is you're probably one game closer to them breaking or ending at some point, so we've got to work to try and make it the end of their run. But they'll be really confident because of it, because when you are on winning runs, everything looks after itself, everyone's happy, and everyone just plays with a bit more flow and a bit more freedom, and that's where we aren't at the moment, and we need to work really hard to try and get to.
And Harry Webster, we mentioned that he played the other day. Was that quite a bold move from your perspective, put someone like him after a tough run?
I don't know, it's for other people to say if it's bold. I don't know. We made loads of changes to the team and the squad. We won, so it must be right, and if we lost it would have been stupid, so that, I don't really worry too much. We picked him for all the reasons that he showed in the game, played a really good game, and credit to him, because when you haven't played for so long in the team, and it's the sort of day it is, and the team's in a bad moment, that isn't easy, but he's fairly unflappable, which is a really good quality to have. So I was really pleased with his level and with the others that played, and it was so obvious to see a marked intensity level in comparison to the game before, and a purpose about us, a desire and a willingness to go and get a result. Sometimes you have to make some big calls and some big changes to spark a big reaction. That's what it did.
Yeah, he did well, didn't he? And perhaps here to stay, maybe.
Yeah, that's his aim, isn't it? I think it's the same with anybody. If you get in a team, you've got to hold down the shirt, and that's probably the disappointment. Our inconsistency has meant it's really hard to pick the same team. Sometimes injuries, sometimes performance, sometimes tactical decisions that I make. But for every player, it's like, come and make us a good team, come and make us a winning team, and play so well that the shirt becomes your shirt. And there aren't many that can say that at the moment, or have said that over the last period of time. Not for the want of trying, but that's come on then, turn the screw a little bit and show that mentality and consistency that will get you in this team all the time and make us a winning team. That's what we're all here for.
One more thing, Sam Gill's been recalled as well, isn't it? Is that the case of sending him to a higher ranked team on loan, or more first team sort of options?
Yeah, I mean, somewhere down the line maybe, but right now it's a really busy period over Christmas, and I think the upside to loans is you go and play a lot of football, senior football. The downside is we don't see you and we don't get to work with you, and he's done really well, so we want to see where his progress is at. We want him around us, we want him training. His challenge is getting squads, getting the team. If somewhere down the line that doesn't happen, then obviously a loan is another option for him in the new year. But between now and whenever that is, his aim is to train, to drive training, to try and get in the team, to try and contribute to squads, and to show us how much progress he's made.
What plays you most about Saturday?
The win. We had to win the game, really. So that was the fundamental thing, and then obviously the bits that contributed towards it, the work ethic and the attitude, good. But I said after the game, sometimes you like those moments and you're happy with them, but the overriding emotion is you're frustrated that you don't see that more often. So the result was the biggest thing, because it just buys everybody a bit of time and consistency to clear their head and try and back it up again this week.
Are you at a stage where you just want to win games 1-0 and just get the confidence going and the momentum back?
Good question. We're at the stage where we want to win games, full stop. Just win 1-0, no, that's not really a thought process. We want to win games, full stop. We'd love to win them playing in the way that we want to and building the team that we want to be, and be a lot more aggressive, attacking and confident and free scoring, but we're not there at the moment, and we've got a long way to go to get there. So winning games, getting draws sometimes, because we've hardly drawn any games, really important to chip away to the points total. But yeah, results massive. I think now this time of year, when you start to get the number of games that we've got in a quick period of time, the conditions, the pitches start to turn in a lot of cases, that can make it a scruffy watch sometimes, a lot of the games, and but the best teams roll the sleeves up and grind out results there. So that's what we need to do over this period for sure.
And the scheduling, in some respect, will help with a little bit, because the games have been moved around, giving you some gaps that you possibly didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, it should help. It should make a difference. We get. I don't actually know everyone else's fixtures, so I'm sure there's other games that have moved as a consequence of TV as well, and they're quite spread. But certainly, from what the original fixture list was to what it is, we've gained a couple of extra days between games, which should help us. I'm not sure it helps the crowd. I'm not sure it helps fans, because the days that they'd love to watch games, they might not be. But for us, it gives us a little bit more time and spreads those games out. Makes the schedule a bit better for us. It's a wild time of year, and we're readying ourselves for a really tough, challenging month. But if we show the qualities that we showed last week, we can come out of it with a really good points return and be right in the mix when the new year comes.
Does it help that you don't have that much travelling over Christmas?
Yeah, definitely. We know we've got loads of that to do. You know, we go a Tuesday night to Grimsby in January, Tuesday night to Newport in March. We go away to Carlisle and Barrow in February. Walsall will end up probably being rearranged for a Tuesday in February, no doubt, before or after Barrow or Carlisle. So we'll have loads of those bits ahead, and most games are travelled. But the month of December treats us quite nicely in terms of the spread of the games, the location of the games, and I think as a consequence of that, the travelling fans that come, I think there'll be great atmospheres in there, and that's why I'm so determined for us to get on a run, because if we do, there'll be a real buzz and a real momentum over that time.